In my delusions 3. I don't know why I did that. I have no time to waste. Let's get it. Hanuman had no regrets about the death of the king's mate, but didn't want the fox who ran out to stop it to get involved. So he informed the king about it, and the king arrived at the scene immediately, slaughtering all the Sura on the spot, including the fox. The king who had encountered his dismembered mate was already no longer able to differentiate from friend or foe. King of the land. Since he was a king who had suppressed his belligerent nature from the beginning, it was only revealed on that day that he had a unique transcendental. This ability, which activates with the king's wrath and subdues the surrounding land animals, resulted in the deaths of countless Sura and humans who were incapable of resisting or escaping from him. In the face of the unknown transcendental skill, the kings of the other clans were reluctant to approach, and the great snake approached him alone and barely managed to calm him down. Not being able to bear what he had done, he took his own life. One last god, Kubera, started out my Currygom side story 18. In my delusions, numéro 3. The great snake now knew that the reason the king running around berserk. Wait, Jesus Christ. Let's try that again. The great snake now knew that the reason for the king running berserk was his mate's death, and turned back time trying to prevent their death. But no matter how many times he twisted and turned the incident, the mate died. If it wasn't them, it was the others. If it wasn't all at that time, it was another time. If it wasn't at that place, then it was someplace else. Their justification was because she just didn't give birth to the king's children. In this universe, the delusion Rakshasas had an existence. At that time, it probably happened for a different reason. However, in at least in this universe, the reason was created that the primeval god created the concept of Rakshasas. The great snake decided to go back to an earlier point and convince them both. It may it may become a cause of infighting, so please consider my request. Please participate in the propagation like the kings do and other clans do. Then why aren't you participating? I can't find a mate. Yes, I understand that sentiment. If it was not for her, I wouldn't be charmed by anyone either. My friend, we're getting to see a Jambi though. My friend is begging us like this. What do you think, my lady? I see. Although I'm sad that I can't help the humans in the meantime, if not having a child is that much of a problem. Oh, look what Ananta, you just smiling like, please, I'm begging you. I need y'all to slam bam, thank you, ma'am, so you could like not die. They decided to follow the Gray Snake's request without much obligation, and the problem seemed to have been solved, but the judgment was wrong. She was attacked despite having the king's child, and the attackers were even her escorts, clanmates that had seemed most loyal. Since the child is lost if Sura form is taken during pregnancy, she fled in human form, unable to take Sura form even while under attack, and eventually died before ever reaching the king. The king, who lost both his mate and child at once, at the time of his most passionate love, flew into a rage incomparable to what the Great Snake had seen while turning back time, and the transcendental king of the land also became stronger. Jeez! Bro, this is crazy. Oh my god, bro. This is so my god. Anata, brother. Brother Anata, the great snake, bro. Yaksha. Oh my lord, my heart, bro. I can't take this pain. I quit. I'm done. Thank you guys for no, I'm kidding. It was a power so great that the great snake who was the strongest was weakened and brought down to the level of his opponent. The great snake who hesitated to kill his friend with his own hands at the decisive moment was mortally wounded by a counterattack and died? No, he thought that he had died. When he came back to his senses, he was back at the beginning. The primeval gods called it survival instinct. They said that his will to live turned back time, and that if he didn't want to return to the beginning, he had to turn back time to before it became too dangerous to fight aggressively. Was it my will to live strong enough to cause this? The Grey Snake has doubts about it, but since the ones telling him were the primeval gods, he had no choice but to accept it. After that, while discussing what had happened, the primeval gods pointed at the fox as the cause. Opinions were divided amongst the primevals if the child was enchanted. The fox's enchanting ability was on the level of an error. It was not simply the power to create followers that support her, but the power to transfer the desires hidden in the fox's heart to her followers. Dark desires that might tempt one briefly, but one would never actually dare carry out. Such desires exist in everyone buried in the corners of their heart, of one's heart. But usually one lives with these desires hidden, but the fox unconsciously transfers these desires to her followers, and she could receive the results without dirtying her own hands, carrying out any responsibility. Although it may not be the exact results she wanted, in the end, the king, his mate, and the fox, those three things could not coexist. The great snake had to give up on one of them. What's different compared to the universe of your delusions is that we are here and the paradise exists as well. When Anasika died in the universe of your delusion, that was simply the end. But here you have the options of enlightenment or paradise. Both are extremely difficult for Nasikas to reach, but Jambavan was a creature well qualified for paradise. Ooh, Shiva words. The primeval gods gave the advice to give up on the king's mate, and the great snake visited her, telling her the whole story. He wasn't able to tell her everything directly, but the wise woman grasped the context within his twisted tales. Then, getting neither angry nor sad, she simply patted the great snake on the shoulder and said the following: "You worked hard. Has it been difficult all this time?" Oh my God, Jabby! I'm not trying to cry on camera, dog. Leave me alone. Alpha male. Death, death, who guarded the entrance to paradise. Look at Yama. Was struck with admiration for the very first, for the very first Nasica to arrive there, and granted her last wish. And so the king received one last dream made of her wishes, and accepted his mate's death without going berserk unlike before. But even after that, he seemed somewhat unstable, and the gray snake, who was well aware of the lonely emptiness of losing a mate, deliberately tried to be more friendly with him. After a while, a being that could alleviate those worries appeared. Ran! A human from the future with the king's heart. The king was freed from the instability while staying with this human and gained the strength to live into the distant future. After that, many things happened, and although there were some things the Grey Snake could prevent, some that he could not. He still believed the newly rescued people from this universe navigating crises with their help. He believed that there's Vitra, the goat. He believed that his own efforts were worthwhile and persevered, and so one day, billions of years later, the Grey Snake had heard the news of the death of his old friend on a marginal planet. It was a fight he would have never lost if fought properly, but he had lent his heart to a human suffering from heart disease and died while enduring without restoring his heart. It was ridiculous. That friend who had endured while dreaming of that reunion in distant future couldn't possibly give up his life in a place like that. The Grey Snake turned back time and sought out his old friend, but even knowing about his own death, he remained detached. After my death, the heart I lent to the sick will go round and round, around to that human in the future. A primeval god came to me and told me that beforehand. If I get my heart back or survive here, the relationship formed with that human will become an error and disappear. It would be as if the pillar of my life for billions of years never existed from the beginning. If that's the case, then I will give up on a future encounter and preserve the relationship of the past. The friend, for the sake of the existence of the support he searched for billions of years, gave up on the rest of his life. And at the place of his death, the great snake spotted the gods who were collecting his friend's body, and the primeval god standing behind them, smiling. Ah, Ananta, don't be too heartbroken. After all, it was necessary for the sake of this universe. No matter what other possibilities you search, there won't be a better choice than this. That life that he had saved in good faith, The choice that he had believed to be better future than delusion, billions of years of effort, all fell into the hands of that god. The great snake doesn't remember well what happened after that. Starting with the god in front of him, the earth, the sky, the myriad of stars in the universe, all turned to dust and vanished in front of him. Let's perish together with this universe that is nothing but the god's plaything. Let us simply die. And I thought you spacing out again? Listen, I heard that Kinara got dumped by Veritra. She was acting so high and mighty, and the royal his survival instinct was wholly independent of his own will. Is this why he does the shedding? The shedding? Ananta, what's wrong? The gray snake cried, since he knew it would all end like this. Since he knew there was no better path. Since he couldn't even give up and run away. Oh my heart hurts, dog. Oh my goodness, bro. Currygom, see you in 2 weeks. That we will not take a break. In my delusions, pissed off. Some people wondered if you don't get influenced by the king of the land, if you fly, but Ananta also flies in the sky too. It's not that big. It's not a big deal. The resistance against the king of the land increases as you are a type that is disadvantaged on land at unusual unusual times. For example, if you were fish type Zero who's disadvantaged on land, then you have almost no influence. If you were a type that is a little bit uncomfortable on land, but it's not that fatal, like Maruna, you'll get quite an influence. On the other hand, if you are very advantage on land, like Chess, you are screwed. So even inside of the same clan, there is deviation amongst the vulnerability versus toward the skill. What he is stepping on is a part of Anata's body. Many ask whether Anata's failed full certification got smaller or if Yaksha got bigger. The fact is that Anata failed to take full Sura form. Pat Pat, the scene that many liked. You don't have to do this anymore. Ananta tried to save Aravata, but he did not try as much as he did for Yaksha. Unlike Yaksha's case, the Primeval gods were uncooperative. Brahma was on the side of killing Aravata, and Ananta turned back time. More to the point, when Vistu and Shivna were present and discussed this matter, but their opinion was that Aravata being the king is a little bit better, but it doesn't really matter if Kanara is the king, and that they were both adequate material for a king. So one of them dying and only one out of them was being left in this error solving period will work. And after knowing all this, Aravata told Nata not to try any harder for her sake. Why is he suddenly crying? Some asked whether Kinara boasting about them being a royal couple was Sagara distorted viewpoint or was it really the truth? And the answer was true. Certainly Sagara does not make up something like this. Nastika's sexual practices, preferences. I'd written down that if I were to post during the hiatus, it would probably have to be with the printed books, but I wasn't able to finish them, so I don't really have anything to say. Season 2 book 5 felt like it could get finished quickly, but apparently not. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Anyways, I will try writing down a sneak peek of what's going to be written in season 2 books. Biology of Suras. Nastikas are capable of changing sex genders, so the concept of I might just save this for. We'll save this for discussion because I actually am a little pressed for time right now. I'm gonna save this for discussion when we talk about it, but this seems pretty important. So, anyways, in my delusions is over. We're done with the side stories. I need time, bro. I need time. I'm in pain. Patreon gang. Shout out to the Patreon gang. Yes, sir. Shout out to my certified BAM lovers. You know, I appreciate y'all deeply. Gotta give a big shout out to the Priest of Fire. That's the real CBL, brother gang. You already know what it is, but especially gonna give a huge thank you to my tier threes, the fifth Zen Gods. Shout out to Zodiac, Sonny Katapali, Simi, Silo, Shoddy to your body, Scobe, Revenant, Lucky Roo, Lazy Dragon, Chris, Johnny Rogers, Jacob Holland, Irene Sharda, Fitz, Triss, and my boy Abdel. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you.